Fallout 4 may have just received its best weapon of 2024, though I'd argue that this might be one of the best heavy weapon mods of all time, and personally, possibly one of the best weapon mods of all time. Today, we're checking out a brand new mod known as the Shoulder-Mounted Machine Gun by Spady. That's right, the long-requested and long-awaited shoulder-mounted machine gun from Fallout New Vegas' Lonesome Road DLC finally has a mod. Now, there was a shoulder-mounted machine gun mod before, one that I actually made, but it wasn't the same thing at all. I made a very, very different gun that happened to be a machine gun that was shoulder-mounted. This is going to be a proper recreation of the one from New Vegas with custom animations, a full suite of attachments, a bunch of uniques, and a bunch of content that is just absolutely overflowing in this mod. It truly is a ton of new things in one nice little package. Starting off with, of course, the really wonderful recreation of the shoulder-mounted machine gun, but the uniques that are added in this mod also add a ton of new life to the game, including a bunch of really, really fun weapons to find, and also some other recreations, like some other weapons from New Vegas, like the Red Glare, or at least, sort of. You'll see when we get to that. Now, for starters, one of the biggest important pieces of this mod is the custom animations, offering a nice shoulder-mounted, full auto machine gun with a rotating barrel and a proper reload animation. Completely custom, absolutely excellent. Of course, obviously, this mod comes with custom models and textures, wonderful models by Spady, and I like to admit that I actually had a little bit of help in this mod as I did some of the texture work for this mod, providing the base textures as well as a couple of the unique textures, and Spady reworked a lot of those to even more skins and even more attachments, which is really, really cool. One thing that's really nice is the integration of this mod. It is actually integrated into the world, even though it is a very unique, very big gun. This thing will actually start spawning out in the world on level 20, and it will spawn on heavier units of the Gunners and Brotherhood of Steel, which is a perfect place to find this thing. Now, on top of the regular old level-less integration, there are also 6 uniques that you can find out in the world, which is quite a bit. We'll be going over each of those later because they are all so unique and so interesting that they're all practically different guns, which is really, really cool. I have to say, you're basically getting 7 weapons in one mod, which is really awesome. And if you're a fan of heavy weapons, then you're really going to enjoy some of the options available here. One other thing about this mod is, of course, it does come with customization over at the weapons workbench, but this time around, it's super, super unique. Every single attachment was treated with a ton of care. They all have their own brand new models and crazy effects. Spady really went above and beyond on this one, leagues above anything else I've seen thus far. This mod is truly a work of passion, something that had a lot of love and time put into it and is definitely shows in the final product. In terms of the basic stuff, we've got everything covered. The specifics, though, is where this thing gets really fun. Let's go ahead and check out the regular version of this mod, the animations, all of the uniques, and of course, the crazy attachments that are included in this mod. I really recommend that you stick around for that part because they are absolutely nutty. So here we are in-game looking at the basic version of the shoulder-mounted machine gun. And basic is quite a word to use for this thing because it is super cool. This is going to be the standard config, the best recreation of the one from New Vegas that we have so far. But of course, you can customize this thing quite a bit, adding a bunch of new options that New Vegas could never even dream of. So, this thing has a base damage of around 15-ish. I have a lot of mods that change these things, and I didn't actually check at the CK this time around to see what the original base damage is, but it is notably lower than this, so you don't have to worry about that. This thing is not overpowered whatsoever. It's actually quite balanced in-game. In my game, it just does a little bit more damage. It's going to use 10mm just like it did in New Vegas. It has a fire rate of 266, a range of 176, an accuracy of 56, a weight of 17.5 pounds, and a value of 262 caps. And of course, the model work on this thing is absolutely amazing. The textures look really, really nice. Everything looks perfect. It looks just like the one from New Vegas, but it gets even better. Now, of course, we do need to check out the animations next because this thing does have custom animations, which are always a huge plus, especially for a weapon like this, which really, really needs them. This thing has 60-round mags and a really cool rotating barrel. The animations are quite simple, but they don't need to be any more special than that. You've got the rotating barrel, you have the correctly loading magazine. It looks pretty dang nice. Altogether, some really cool stuff. In terms of accuracy, you don't have to worry about it too much because this thing is definitely a spray and pray type weapon. There's absolutely no reason you should be trying to snipe with this thing, at least not with the standard variant. Speaking of variants, though, we have a lot of uniques to check out, and that's definitely where a lot of the meat and potatoes of this mod come in. There's some really fun stuff over there. So, for starters, this is the Red Flare, which is a complete overhaul to this weapon that is nothing like the shoulder-mounted machine gun. It's going to use the same animations, but that's it. This is going to be a new sort of rocket launcher that launches flares, except now, the flares actually do damage. This is clearly inspired by the Red Glare from New Vegas, but with a nice little twist. This thing looks super cool and is a lot of fun to use. If you want to get your hands on this fella, you can find it over at Jamaica Plains, and let's go ahead and show off what this actually looks like when you shoot it. This guy is quite fun, offering a built-in scope that is super neat, it has a really cool look to it, and fires a projectile that is completely different from anything in vanilla. As you can see, some nice swirly rockets that have a nice little ring of fire that gets laid down when you shoot it. These things are really fun to just absolutely spray into a group of enemies. A very fun unique. The next unique we're checking out is known as Faded Glory. This is going to be one of the more simpler uniques in this mod, offering explosive rounds, but still being relatively the same in every other regard. It has a nice skin here, combining two of the other unique skins, offering a cool little camo, along with some nice American flag paint jobs. If you'd like to get your hands on this one, you can actually find it out in the world. It's not on a marked location. You can find it on the peak of a ruined highway. That is the only hint given for this unique, because once you figure out which highway it is pretty obvious where this guy is located. It's not hidden very well. Now then, let's go ahead and check this one out in-game, though, because the explosive rounds are quite fun. Here we are with the Faded Glory, offering another cool built-in scope. This one again has explosive rounds and makes for quite a bit of fun in combat. It does have a notably slower rate of fire, but that's going to be a lot better for the explosive rounds because otherwise this thing would be pretty dang OP as a set spawn. The next unique is known as the Hot Rodder, and this thing is super cool. Very similar to the Hot Rod unique from my Skewer mod. It has a nice flame paint job, very Guy Fieri inspired, and this thing is all about speed. It also has incendiary damage, adding a nice little bit of incendiary damage that will burn the target for 3 seconds. It will also make this thing fire super fast with a fire rate of 777. That can of course be swapped out with some of the attachments available, but the short barrel here has a really nice speed boost. This also has a completely unique design. Not only does it have the cool flames and paint job, but there's also a motor built into this thing that make it look like a hot rod. This is a super cool unique, something very Fallout. I have to say I like this thing quite a lot. If you want to get your hands on this one, you're going to need to head over and grab it from Zeke over at the Adam Cat's garage. While the effect on the Hot Rodder is pretty simple, there is some other stuff going on behind the scenes. When you equip this thing, it actually starts an engine, and the engine will be playing while you use it, which is quite fun. Has another cool custom scope and a super fast fire rate. This thing will absolutely shred anybody who gets in your way. This next unique is quite fun. It's known as the Greed Machine. This thing has a doubled fire rate with an absolutely gigantic magazine at the back, which means you practically never have to reload. And it rechambers the weapon from 10mm to 5.56, offering a nice little chain here of bullets that lead into the weapon. This thing is a lot of fun and has a really cool aesthetic. I quite like the paint job on this one. It's actually one that I made myself, and this thing is quite cool. This thing comes with some built-in options that are absolutely insane that look crazy in first person. If you want to get your hands on this guy, you're going to need to find it over at the police rationing site. Again, the Greed Machine is one of the simpler uniques, but it has some built-in stuff that's quite crazy, like this huge javelin-style scope, if you will, that actually works when you aim it. It's super cool. And just adds a really nice first-person look that you've never seen in Fallout before. A nice little targeting system where you can actually still see the barrel poking out the front. It looks like you're piloting a tank, but you can still see through it and hip fire, which is always really nice as well. This thing is kind of crazy, and you basically never have to reload it. Quite neat. Now, since the initial launch, there have been 2 more uniques that have been added, and the first of which is known as the Tenderizer. This is going to be a complete conversion of the weapon to make it into a heavy shotgun, which there is nothing like that in the base game. A heavy weapon shotgun is definitely something we don't see often. This is going to
be using shotgun shells instead of your standard 10mm, and it's going to soften up the target. The more times that you hit it consecutively, it will increase the damage, which is a pretty standard legendary effect, but a very fun one to use. The paint job on this thing is quite cool with red. It looks like a raider weapon for sure, and overall this thing is just a whole lot of fun. This is said to be a prototype weapon of the Forged, and because of such, you'll find this thing over at the Saugus Ironworks. And of course, this one is going to have a completely different look to it. Since it is a shotgun now, the projectile is completely different, and I want to showcase that as well. It is quite crazy. A huge spread on this thing that will absolutely annihilate anybody who decides to get in front of this thing. Really, really cool. We don't see a lot of heavy shotguns, so having something like that built into this mod is a really nice touch. It's practically not even the same gun anymore. And finally, one of the most ridiculous uniques in this mod is going to be the phalanx, offering wood furniture and a built-in sword and shield. I don't know why you need that, but you can have it. It is an option. There's a huge claymore attached to this thing, again with a nice big shield and some wood furniture as accents. This thing is absolutely insane. It adds increased damage resistance while you have it equipped. It will also increase your movement speed while aiming. It has exceptional melee damage when you bash with this thing, considering it has a built-in sword, and it has even better melee range, so you can poke people with it from a bit further away than your typical weapon. Pretty cool. And of course, since this thing is pretty thematic, if you want to get your hands on this one, you'll find it over at the wreck of the Northern Star. Now, functionally, this thing isn't much different when shooting. We can't really show that off here, but I did want to showcase the fact that the shield isn't as intrusive as it might seem. It actually doesn't take up that much more of the screen than the weapon already does, so that's quite nice. And now then, of course, we do need to check out the attachments over at the weapons workbench. There are quite a few here, and they're all super cool and interesting, so sit tight. Most people like to tune out of this part, but this is a really, really cool set of attachments for this weapon. So, receivers are pretty standard. They go up from standard to advanced. But the interesting stuff comes later. Barrels, we have standard, light, compact, long, which adds a nice tri-barrel, which looks super cool. And of course, heavy barrels, which is going to be the best option for accuracy. We have some different grip options with the standard grip, a compact grip, which makes this thing super small, a marksman style grip, a support grip, and a recoil compensating grip, which is absolutely massive. For the scope options, we have the option for no scope, a reflex sight, a massive regular scope, a night vision scope, a recon scope, an improved scope, improved night vision scope, and improved recon scope, and a targeting computer, which we saw a little bit of earlier, which is going to be a massive screen that you can look through. That is quite cool, sort of inspired by a javelin. For the magazines, we have the option for the standard mag, a quick eject, an extended mag, an extended quick eject, a drum mag, and a drum quick eject. And we also have the options for some really cool paints. We have the Atom Cats paint, which is going to be the nice checkers and flames. We have a desert camo, a gunmetal paint, which takes all the paint away. We have a Nuka-Cola inspired paint, a red paint, a shark paint, which looks super cool, a standard paint, which is going to be the regular old green. The Union paint is going to be orange and white, and a woodland camo. Altogether, some really cool options that can make you convert this weapon into something completely different. If you take something like the big old marksman grip here and throw on the targeting computer, all of a sudden you're looking at a javelin, which is quite funny. A totally different weapon, even though it is still going to be functionally the same, though you can throw these onto some of the uniques to make something like the red flare a bit more of a recognizable rocket launcher. So there you have it, the shoulder-mounted machine gun, one of the best mods to come out this year, and one of the best heavy weapon mods of all time. Sitting right up there with Skibado's heavy weapons pack, I think this thing is absolutely excellent. And the amount of content that you get for one mod is absolutely insane. Spady knocked it out of the park on this one of the best mods he has ever made. It is absolutely excellent, and if you want to try it out for yourself, it will be linked down in the description below. By the way, if you enjoy the videos I do here on YouTube or the mods that I make, you can support me directly using the link down below to check me out on Patreon. That, of course, is completely optional, but it is there if you'd like to donate. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace!